The dinner tonight is actually 10 years since the mikvahs for the physically challenged opened in Hallandale Beach. It was a big strain and drain on all of us to get the project completed. We actually had pledges that weren't fulfilled. There was a downturn in the economy right when this was going on. So we were stuck. We were really knee-deep, and even more than knee-deep, in the mikveh project.
There's no question that once we realized how important it was to make sure that the mikveh would come out in the most pristine and beautiful way, that there was a humongous amount of pressure because it was at a very difficult time economically. We went all over the place looking for loans. We spoke to banks. We literally had to do whatever was in our means to secure the funds so that once we were in the middle of the project, that we would not lose what we had already established.
The hardest summer and the hardest Tekufa era that we lived through, both my wife and I, was the final summer 10 years ago of paying the bills for the mikveh, because we were scrambling and we exhausted all local channels, and it was way above our heads. We know that a mikveh has to cover your head. We didn't realize that the actual costs will be above our heads.
That summer was almost impossible for him. He didn't look the same, he didn't walk the same. He was under tremendous pressure to make sure that these bills would be covered and that we would move forward in a positive direction.
When we first came to town, it was an older community. Nobody was using mikveh. I sometimes used the pool. My wife had to travel to South Beach to use the mikveh. Now, we have so many people. Over the last 10 years, thousands of people, and this is not an exaggeration. Some people say I'm high with the numbers. This is not an exaggeration. Thousands of men and women have used our mikvahs in Hallandale Beach. And we know the importance in the halacha of a mikveh, because if it's a choice, a mikveh versus a synagogue, a mikveh has precedence. And you even have to sell a synagogue if there's not going to be a mikveh in the town. The mikveh comes first.
I think it's important to note that the mikveh did run us much more than we anticipated. And one of the reasons is that the original budget included very basic fixtures and so forth. And then in the end, we ended up bringing in decorator quality, much better manufacturers and brands, which ultimately last much longer and look better overall.
I want our mikveh to be so special that a bride who comes here once with the intent of going once ends up coming here every month, because that's the beauty of our mikvahs. It entices and it enables people to say, I want to come here again.
It was highly recommended that in such an area that has a high humidity and that we want to make it attractive with a spa feel, that the walls should be completely tiled. When we made that change, we literally went from a budget of about $10,000 of tiles to over $100,000. We employed glass tile, porcelain, the highest level of quality, and in addition, installation on walls is not simple like it is on the floor. So the installation costs alone were over $50,000. We put in beautiful glass tile, which makes a tremendous effect on the overall appearance and warmth of the mikveh.
So we went out of the way. We really went beyond our expectations.
In order to make special accommodations for somebody that has physical challenges, in the case, for instance, of MS, where the water temperature must be changed, so it requires special staff to come in. And there's a lot of time that goes into it because of the nature of emptying out the water, replacing it with cooler water, constantly checking the thermometers to make sure that the temperature is exactly correct. So a lot of manpower and a lot of effort goes into this, which ultimately affects the overall budget of the daily running of this specific mikveh, where we are told we are one of the only ones that make this accommodation.
We were fortunate to some degree because we started to take out mortgages. We took one mortgage from the synagogue, We took one mortgage for my house, and then we used credit cards to finish paying off the mikveh. And for 10 years, every month, there's a struggle to keep the mikveh open. People aren't aware of it because the mikveh is always beautiful. If we're going to expand it any further, we have to close and burn the second mortgage at the very least, which is $225,000, or even better yet, both mortgages on the mikvahs, which is $360,000. And we're offering someone who comes through with a $360,000 gift, something very special. And that is the western wall of our buildings. The western building will have the name of their family as the mikveh campus dedication.